3, 2, 1.
Yeah, you can hear it already.
It's going, right?
Is it going?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, there
Oh,
it
it's
is. Okay.
condensed.
All right, here we go. Hello and welcome to episode 24 of Rigor Mortis Paranormal. Tonight's episodes include a ghost dog at FE Warren Air Force Base. A ghost girl hangs out in the McDonalds restrooms. The Doppelganger. I am David. This is Robert, Jasmine, and Kory.
Hello, hello.
Hey guys.
All right, what's happening, guys? Oh, we got somebody drinking again. We got one extra beer.
Yeah.
That's gonna
I
be
can
popping
drink
tonight.
again.
Yeah, and a new member.
New member to the family.
Oh yeah, I've had my baby.
Yeah. Really exciting news, huh, Jasmine? So, Jazz and Kory, proud parents of a new baby boy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Little baby Cash.
Little baby Cash.
Awesome, awesome.
And she doesn't breastfeed. Just
Oh, yeah.
So she can drink beer.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Good. Mention that. Yeah, we had a sneaker
Yeah,
beer.
because I'm sure we're gonna have somebody write in about that. All our listeners.
Yeah, like, wait a minute, she is drinking? She just had a baby. Actually, the day you got out, did you drink a beer the day you got
She
out?
was still in the hospital. Where's
No, the day you got out of the hospital. You remember? No?
I don't think so.
No? It was
I think the real one
I
was
waited till the next day.
probably yesterday, right?
Kinda.
Christmas?
Oh, Christmas, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, y'all fellas, it is after Christmas, and sorry.
And New Year's, but yeah, it's been a little bit. And Ian called in sick today. Yeah.
We just got done with the holiday seasons, you know,
Yeah, it's
the spending and all that, you know, it's a madhouse at the groceries on Christmas Eve. Okay, I went in there, you know, it's supposed to be a holiday season, holiday cheer and all that, right?
Fuck out the way.
Hell no, man, it's a different story. I hear, I go to the local groceries, here we go, man. So I'm rolling in, and yeah, you know, and I'm all festive. We're getting beer and everything. We're getting ready for our
We're always happy when we have we're buying beer.
Yeah, but when I'm going back there, man, this is here we go again, man. It's a big woman, man, and I don't know what she did, but she was pissed, and she was a big woman. They had the it was sort of like that, like have you ever seen a grizzly take care of their cubs? This lady was like, no, she was pissed though, Dave, man. I mean, you should have seen her.
What you do? You grabbed the last turkey? Or
No, I don't know. I caught the end of it where she was grabbing they they had the stock clerks and shit, you know, the guys with the aprons and the polo shirts that have, you know, they're running over their khaki pants, and this lady's like pushing them up with one hand. I'm not kidding. They're going back, man. They're flying. The lady was huge, man. She's pushing them back and she's yelling. Just her voice alone, man, you could feel it in your chest, like you're standing next to a bass, amplifier.
Make the snare drum.
Yeah, like a rattle. Man. And I would be like, man, it kind of scared the hell out of me because I don't know what's going on, but she was yelling loud. So these people are kind of. I thought she stole something. That's what I thought, you know, and I thought that's what it was, and it may have because I didn't find out what happened. Like maybe she had a couple. Maybe she did have a couple of hams under there, man, but like tucked away, marinating. Ew.
Gross.
So, but this is what made me think, like maybe because the guys that were over there, they were like, and they look weird because they were just throwing them off like they were like ants on yeah, she was pushing them. I mean, and those kids were going flying, man. One flew into the cans, and he looked all slow motion. Oh, dude, and he got hurt, and the other guy ran over there. Brian, you okay? And he's like helping him, and he's trying to pull him away by one arm because the ladies, I don't know what this kid did to her, but she starts going at him, and the guy's looking up, and he's trying to help his friend. Right? And he's coming towards them, and she's like pissed, man. And he's just like, "Come on, hurry, get up, kid." He just leaves her. He's like, "Man, you're on your own.
You can do whatever you want, man."
But yeah, so they kind of piled her. Like there was about 4 guys that jumped her, and they're holding her like that. And she was yelling, "Here he comes, man!" on those fucking scooters. You know, like you go take.
yeah.
It was her old man, dude. He was coming and he was if you could call it hauling ass.
Yeah.
But he's kind of coming down and you know he's gonna
the
do
oxygen tank.
Yeah, he's gonna do worse than more good because he's a big dude too, man. He was like, get off my wife, you sons of bitches, and like the guy. He gets up, he's wearing his Bermuda shorts, he's got his his like big shirt and his diabetic socks were all uneven and shit. So like he's trying to go help her and he does more fucking worse than anything, man. Fucker falls, dude. And they jump on him. He's like, get off me, man. That was a big mistake. That was a big mistake, man. The ladies all like, like they're on her husband. And like, he wasn't gonna do shit. He barely got out the fucking thing. He fell by himself. So, she goes over there, man. And they go and they like jump on him and she gets those guys off, man. I'm not kidding. It looks weird, man. Like they were flying off him. Or she goes over there and she grabs one kid by the back of his collar and pulls him off. And the guy's holding on to the other man's shirt, and he rips it and shit. And like she throws him hard, man, back, and you can just hear whack like that. And the guy just like, and then like call security. So the security comes, right, dude. And when the security comes, man, it's some bony kid, man. Like that. Man, he goes, man. He starts kind of putting like in a hole, but his arms can't get completely around him, so she's like basically behind her grabbing her tits. So she's like shaking him, and he goes flying off, and his mace goes. He pulls out his pepper spray, man. It's funny. So she's yelling at her, "I'm about to deploy, ma'am." So she pushes him hard, man. When he falls backwards, he starts spraying it, and it lands back on him. Man, I could have. I was there, man, and it sounded like it was a long time, but it was kind of short. And those other people like getting up, and they're still on the husband. The husband's still like playing posse dead. Get off of me, goddammit! So. Man, she's going to town, man. All of a sudden, you just see the big boys on the block. The cops do show up, man. They're like 4 of them, man. They start pulling out their tasers, man. She just drops to the ground. I quit. So, and they're like, get on the floor. And man, you can see it looked like a Gettysburg. Clerks line laid out all over. And that's what I'm saying, man. I was like, damn.
Checker guns and stuff.
What is always, man? Yeah. I was just about to go off on that bitch. Bullshit.
No, right? Yeah, afterwards, of course. Dude, I was gonna take care of that chick.
They're dumping the country fair water in that guy's eyes. I'm like, what happened, man? Did she pepper spray you, sir? Freak accident, man. Anyway, but that's what I'm saying. It's supposed to be the season for giving and all that, and you see crazy. Right. I think that's when you see the most shit.
Yeah, that's true, because people are fighting for the last hand, like you said, probably, man. Like,
the beer, man. Oh, man, you go in there and beer, and like, I mean, but we're lucky because we drink Lone Star Light, so it's always there.
There's always plenty of that. Never have to worry about it. But that was at a grocery store?
Yeah, it was at at the Big Boys here in, but it's just weird because you always see shit like that. Walmart, what was that, Black Fridays, man? Forget it, man. People have to go strapped, man, to go there.
You can see people shaking each other and stuff.
Yeah, like taking shit out of your hands. You already got it. Thank you.
Taking it out of your basket, rolling your basket away because you got stuff that they want.
All the extreme couponers.
That's great, man.
Anyway, I'm so sorry, guys. You want to get on our first story, or?
Yeah, you know what? Let's do that, man. Jazz, you want to do the ghost dog at FE Warren Air Force Base?
That was alright. Alright. This story comes from Gary from San Antonio. He said, "Hey guys, I'd like to tell you about a haunted Air Force base I was stationed at a few years back. I was stationed at FE Warren Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming. It was one of the 3 strategic missile bases in the U.S. When I arrived at the base, some of the other airmen told me that FE Warren Air Force Base was haunted. I was told that the living quarters were haunted as well. In fact, they told me that it would be better to rent an apartment than stay in the living quarters. The living quarters were free, so it was an easy decision for me. Besides, at the time, I did not believe in ghosts. A few weeks after I settled in, me and some of my friends were watching a football game in the recreational room of my dorm floor. I was at the other side of the rec room when all of a sudden everyone in the room started yelling and screaming. I ran to where the commotion was and asked what the hell was going on. The guys were scared and looked surprised. One of my buddies told me that they were watching the game when all of a sudden a dog ran in front of the TV and ran through the wall and disappeared. I was confused because there were no dogs allowed in the living quarters. The only dogs I had seen were posted at the gate entryways by the guard shacks. I had never seen any dogs near the dorm though. I thought maybe the guys were trying to pull a prank on me, so I just brushed it off. About a week later, I was back in the recreational room with my girlfriend watching a movie. We were the only ones in the room at the time. We were sitting on the couch in front of the TV. Everything was quiet. Then a black dog ran in front of me and my girlfriend. It ran through so fast and it looked so real. I jumped back in the couch. My girlfriend thought it was a real dog until it ran through the wall. She looked at me and saw how scared I was and realized we had just seen a ghost dog. We both grabbed our things and left as fast as we could. I took the airman's advice and found an apartment a week later. Another thing I was told about the base was that it was called Suicide Base. I'm not sure why it was called that, but while I was there, I had a friend who guarded the missile silo. He was found in his dorm with his head blown off. He had committed suicide with a shotgun. What was strange is that he did not see any combat time yet, and he did not have PTSD. Before my friend killed himself, there was another airman who killed himself in the same exact way. He had shot himself in the head with a shotgun. This man was older than my friend, but like my friend, he had never saw any combat time, and he didn't have any PTSD either. I thought it to be strange and sad. I always wondered if the hauntings at FE Warren Air Force Base and the suicides of my friend were connected. Thank you.
Good one.
Man, that was a good story. But first thing I do gotta admit, I just realized I made a boo boo in the intro. I called it EF Warren. It was FE, of course, as we just heard.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
See?
we drink before we start the show.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, I done it. It's just Warren Air Force Base, but
See, I could have corrected it, but instead we just have screwed.
You know
Keep
what?
going.
yeah. Then it's just gonna be too perfect of a show. Then we can't have that.
That's
But
right.
I did do some research. As I know all was good, and this Air Force Base actually it was the first military base in the United States. It was actually an Army base before, and it was Fort D.A. Russell, and they said they've been having like paranormal, sightings and shit like that since the 1860s.
Damn.
And what that was built up for, why it was made, was to protect the railroad workers, because they would have skirmishes against the Native Americans that were in the area, and they would have little skirmishes, and so that's why they built this place, the fort. Anyway, when I was going through, the base actually has several ghosts. It has one of cavalrymen. They're like back in the day, the cavalry men dressed in cavalry uniforms. They go around and it says patrolling the base at night. And then they have one in building 34, which housed the hospital morgue at one time before becoming headquarters, the base security. But what it was building 34 used to be a morgue and a hospital. So they said they have throughout the whole building that they have a lot of sightings of ghosts and stuff like that, obviously because of morgue and stuff.
Right.
They had one called Fam like family camp, and it's still there.
Wow.
Well, it's supposed to be like where they can go and like a recreational for camping and shit like that. Well, in the 20s, supposedly some soldiers, they said a group of soldiers brutally raped a Native American lady in the 1920s, and now you see her wandering that area. There was another one where in building 223 that used to formerly be served as a woman's living quarter. One story alleges a ghost of a nurse that haunts that building. She was one of 6 that was killed by a deranged man who escaped the hospital. And it is now the Wyoming Wing Civil Patrol Unit. I guess that's where they're housed, but I couldn't find anything on that one either. But I mean, like, these are all legends that they have.
Yeah.
Gus's quarters, this is my favorite. Gus's quarters, and this was back when it was still a fort. They have Gus, what he was I guess he was a soldier or something, but one of the commanders was coming back. I guess he was gone off on a skirmish. He was coming back early. Well, when he came home and he found this guy and his wife together, right?
Oh, hello.
So, yeah, he said that, well, I guess he got real scared because, you know, he jumped out the window and he hung himself on the clothesline down below.
Oh,
So what happened was they say they hear him moving around and tussling and opening drawers and shit like that. And so the soldiers now say that it's Gus coming back for his pants. So anyway, but I gotta get back to what this was here because, man, I could not find anything on a ghost dog. Nothing. And I was looking around. I'm not saying it is. The only thing I came close to it was when they talked about they would hear things. They would hear screaming and stuff like that, I guess, from the ladies.
Right.
But one of them said dogs barking. That was it on one of the
closest it got.
and that was it. That's all I heard. So I contacted. There was a lady who actually wrote a book on the hauntings, and let me see. Her name was Jill Pope, and she's the author of Haunted Warren Air Force Base. That's one, and the other one is Haunted Cheyenne. Obviously, where that's at. I guess she's pretty good on the ghost haunts in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I actually got to email her. She emailed us back, which is awesome.
Oh, that's
Cool. Well, she was telling me that it was kind of weird because what she had was she heard stories of like the other ones that we heard and other hauntings, but she says as far as like ghost dogs and stuff, she said there was cats and yeah,
horses.
she said horses that they were neighing and snorting, neigh, you know, and you know, stuff like that. But she has never heard of a dog. So and that's not to say that it's not happening. I mean, I you know, obviously, you know, the place is haunted with different stuff. So. And it was kind of cool because I had never heard of this base. Never.
Yeah, right, that's crazy.
I knew they had missile silos up there. I didn't know that it was that haunted. When I looked it up, I was like, man, cha-ching. I said, oh my God. But it had nothing on the dogs. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but like obviously that place is more haunted than people, are noticing. So I just thought that was cool, man. I mean,
pretty crazy. I mean,
Definitely gonna look more into that.
yeah, that was a good one, man. Thank you, Gary, so much for that. We appreciate
that was
that.
a great story.
Awesome.
You know, he was talking about the PTSD deal.
PTSD,
Post-traumatic stress
disorder. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what? I didn't even get into that. Actually, I didn't find anything on that
Yeah,
about the suicides. But he said that when they're not going to talk about it. I mean,
yeah, no kidding. Yeah, man, that's crazy. That's I don't know. I was just thinking about that. I was thinking about man. I don't know why I started thinking about this old where I used to work at, man, when I was a kid. Man, there's nothing but a whole bunch of guys there. It was all welding and spray painting and. Used to do sandblasting and stuff like that. And it was one of those really hard jobs, man. It sucked, dude. It was like digging ditches for like $2 an hour, man. It sucked, dude.
I remember that place.
I hated it. I hated it, man. And I used to always come home with like this baby blue when I come home all the time because I was a spray painter. And it was a company color. Man, and then they'd work us like 16 hours a day. I mean, stupid stuff, man. And then sometimes even at 5 o'clock, it's like, okay, we got to finish painting this thing. Some big old thing that has like 40 tanks on it. They're like for oil and stuff like that. And so they're thing that take like 2 days to paint. And they're like, well, we need it tomorrow. So we'd have to spend a night and stuff, man. And man, I would be sitting under this, 60-ton, big old piece of equipment. Man, we'd have to get underneath these beams, man, and paint the bottom of them. And it sucked. It was scary, man. For, I was getting like $3 an hour. Or maybe $4, but anyway, I'm sorry, man, I went way off. But somebody got killed there one time, man. They got murdered.
Yeah.
And it was trip, man. And I don't know what made me think about this, man. Just way off course.
I remember you telling me this story.
Yeah. And it was weird. It came out on the news too. Well, what happened was there was, and not to be racist or anything, but there were these 2 black guys that worked there. And it was a black guy that killed a guy. And so one of them was like, going on 70 years old. And the other guy was like a 30-year-old, looked like a tough guy. So I'm like, gee, I wonder which guy they're talking about. But what happened was we were going into work one morning. It was about 6 o'clock in the morning. I was there with my boss and a couple of others. There was like 4 of us. We were like the first ones in there in the morning. And we're going in, and I kicked some keys that were on the ground. And so we're walking in, and I'm like, dude, I picked them up real quick. And I told my boss, I was like, hey, man, you dropped your keys, because he picked me up, man. That's the other thing, too, man. My boss would go pick me up, man. I didn't have a ride to go to work, man. That's how poor I was. But he's like, no, it's not mine. And so I'm like, well, are they yours? I started asking, the other guys that were with me, and like, it's not mine. He's like, well, let me take them. I'll turn them in. So
can you fingerprint all over them?
Yeah, no, really, man. Yeah, exactly. And so, anyway, so the day goes by, and they're like, hey, man, those keys belong to so-and-so. I found out later the same day which was like the second in charge of the whole company, like some big shot. Turns out, he got killed. So where I was, I had this dead man's keys, man. I'm like, oh shoot, I got freaked out. I was like, oh man, they're gonna, I knew I had my fingerprints on them exactly, so.
Pin it on you.
Yeah. But then, so later on I find out, they're like, well, I found out the whole story behind the thing. They said, yeah, it was a black dude. What happened was that big guy was moving, so he came into the company in the middle of the night to borrow one of the company trucks to move. And then in the middle of that, he busted somebody in the middle of a robbery, so they were robbing the place. And they were trying to steal one of the welding machines. And they got him. They said they took him, and I guess they must have hit him. They knocked him out or something, and they took him to some train tracks down the street, and they shot him with a shotgun. And the story was the shotgun was back there at work in the guy's locker. And so this is still just a story at the time. And so I'm like, whatever, I'm thinking, no, that's crazy, it's a crazy story. And I'm like, all right, well, I thought they were going to call me in, because they were calling in my boss. They called in a whole bunch of other people. And, the word got out that it was a black dude. Well, there's this guy that worked with me. He was kind of a big old teddy bear, man. He looked like Pluto exactly, man, from Popeye. And man, he looked exactly like him to a T. And he's like, he always used to mess with this other black dude, because he knew it wasn't the old guy. And he was like, there's a black guy. I bet it was you. I was like, I bet you shot him, huh? You killed him? And, and he'd be driving by in the forklift, and the guy just like look at him like laughing, yeah, whatever. And I bet it was you, pendejo, telling him stuff. And he'd always be like messing with him. And for like 2 days, because this is only like 3 days afterwards or something, for like 2 days straight, man. He's like messing with him, you killed him, laughing at him.
The 70-year-old guy?
No, the young guy, man, the 30-year-old guy, man. The guy would be driving by in the forklift, because he was a welder. And, we worked in the paint shop, so when he'd drive by on the forklift, he'd be like, hey, yelling, pendejo, you killed a boss, like laughing and stuff. And the next thing you know, man, the cops came over to work. Dude, the shotgun was in his locker still.
Oh, God.
I mean, what an idiot, dude. The guy had the shotgun in his locker that he killed him with, and there was a news crew and all that stuff. But it was weird though, a stupid idiot, man. He left his shotgun in there, and then that dude was like, chingo, you think he's gonna come back and kill me? He was all scared, man. I was like, dude, I don't think the guy's coming back for a while, man.
He didn't know he was
he was like poking at him big time. He was like poking and poking and poking at him. I was like, what an idiot, man. But anyway, that had nothing to do with anything, but that was a funny story. Should we go to our next story, man? No, let's, what do we got? We got a ghost girl hangs out in the McDonald's restrooms.
Oh, yeah. That sounds kind of dicey there, huh?
No, I don't know about that one, man. I think let's just...
I was hearing one not too long, I think it was episode 8 or 9, where we kept, for some reason, it was like a string of call girls. On each story that we had, there was always one call girl.
Oh, and that would die or something? Yeah.
And that's why when you were saying a girl that hangs out in the men's restroom, I'm like... I know a guy at work that hangs out. Anyway.
Are you that guy, Dad?
No. There's no tools or nothing. What are you doing in here, man? Just browsing. Anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's get to that one, man.
Let's check it out.
This next story comes from Johnny from Charleston, North Carolina. I think I pronounced that right. Anyway, he goes on to say, hey guys, I love your show. I'm a truck driver and I'm on the road a lot. So I love listening to your shows. I'm always looking out for new episodes. I want to tell you of the time I was on a long run from North Carolina to New Mexico. I had been on the road for hours. I had started getting hungry, so I decided to stop in the next town, which was Idabel, Oklahoma. I pulled into a McDonald's. I headed straight for the men's room to drain my bladder and wash my hands. Walking to the men's room, I saw a little girl in a dress run from the women's restroom to the men's restroom. What was strange is she ran right through the door, like she was in front of me 1 second and gone the next. I stopped and didn't believe what just happened. I still had to urinate very badly, so I walked into the men's room. When I was in the restroom, I looked everywhere. The stalls, behind the door. I was the only one in there. It scared me. I just saw a ghost. As I was doing my business, I looked around behind me, expecting to see the little girl standing behind me. I washed up and got the hell out of there. I went to the counter to order my food, and I wasn't going to say anything about what I saw because it was kind of busy and I didn't want to sound crazy. I sat away from the restrooms, keeping an eye on them. No one had run by. When my order was done, the assistant manager came out and she gave me my order. which I made to go. I told the lady what I saw. She didn't look surprised. As a matter of fact, she told me the little girl has been haunting that McDonald's for years. Many customers have reported the same thing. So that's my story. Keep up the good work and take care. Okay, Johnny, that was a great story.
I like that, man. That's cool, man. And you know what? I can relate to the guy, man, because I love driving. I'm not a truck driver, but you know what? I think I can handle it being a truck driver, man. I love this.
You think you see a lot of shit?
I bet, man.
You know, just being out like especially at the haunted roads, and I bet that'd be something else, right? To get like a haunted trucker stories.
A hitchhiking story.
Yeah. And tell them large motorcycle.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Or picking up hitchhikers. Yeah, what is it? The one where the jacket stays in their car.
Yeah.
Man,
I want to return the jacket.
Yeah, I hope McDonald's don't get pissed off with this.
No, that's what I was wondering about that.
You know what? It's on the internet.
Yeah, and actually, you know, I should give this. I actually found these stories because I was looking for some to. And you know what, man, we got another match, man. They do have a haunted McDonald's in Idabel, Oklahoma. Same thing, little girl. Right. It's a little girl, same thing, going in the men's and the women's restroom.
Really? How far is it from?
You know, I didn't see where Idabel actually was located. I should have. That was one of the things I do. They said on this one, obviously, they have a lot of the workers that run into them. I beg your pardon. They said that she goes from the men's to the women or vice versa restroom. I don't know why only there. They seen her coming out. She flushes toilets in the women's restroom. And they said 2 managers who have been there over 10 years say that they've encountered the same things, you know, extreme coldness, their computers turn on, and they said one person actually quit because it got kind of like, you know, out of hand there. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That how you take a shit in peace, some little girl staring at you.
Well, I think it's funny because when Ryan has to poop, we can tell because he gets really cold. So we can't tell the difference. He's all, it's cold.
The goosebumps.
I'm like, baby, you're not cold. You gotta poop.
Well, then you can't really tell with that girl because
is it a ghost or
no, is it? It's just a girl that has to go poop really bad, maybe, man.
Yeah, she's doing you the favor of flushing. I mean, like, so if you got a real bad one. But just
a courtesy plug.
Yeah, thank you.
Toilets, man.
Thank you. Yeah.
So they don't get clogged.
But I mean, they've had the cold sensations, things turning on. There have been many instances of the door in the woman's restroom being checked and closed, being opened. The doors are being opened and closed, and then it just says many people have heard the little girl, and some have saw her, but no one knows where she came from or what she is doing. Yeah, seriously, I mean, I'm getting like, they're like little articles, you know, the same thing like we always run into when we try to look up the, see what's going on with them. And man, damn it, you know, and I wanted to show y'all because they had other places, other McDonald's that were haunted, you know.
I used to hear stories about how the ball pit and kids would get bit by snakes in there and die. So like, I wonder if those places are haunted.
You don't see those ball pits anymore, right?
Oh no, I imagine not over there no more either.
I know they find dirty diapers and shit in them too. Like, what the hell?
That's gross, man. Yeah, it's like, well, I'm finished with this diaper. Just leave it for the next kid.
Or the kids like
the cushion of blows.
Don't need this.
Oh, that's gross. Yeah, that's horrible. But yeah, that's crazy though, man. I mean, I wonder what the deal is with it.
Yeah, where she came from, actually. I mean, what makes it that, you know, how that came about. And you know, we always run into these kind of stories also, like we can't find the backgrounds. It's not to say that this didn't happen, and you know, and we totally, you know, hey, we put it on.
To know more.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, it's just like to get some kind of credence on it, to get more like, you know, just, it's always neat to know what the backstory is on some of those also.
Kind of interesting that the assistant manager that she even acknowledged it. I mean, she didn't try, you know, they didn't.
Oh yeah, that one, yeah. You know? I'm sure they saw also some stuff also, and well, it just seems like this guy, he probably never ran into anything like that, you know.
Yeah.
That's creepy. I mean, I'm gonna be the first one to say, man, if I'm gonna be taking, and I always have to take a dump. I don't care where I'm at. You're sitting there all in the cool and stuff, man, and then you just kind of see, yeah, it's like, what are they giggling at, you know? Yeah.
You laughing at me?
Yeah. I know. Wait till I get out, come run out. What are you doing? The woman is over there anyway. But yeah, Like, what are you laughing at? I'd be throwing up. But like, that's what's kind of cool. You know, this is like the second story. I like to hear when there's some kind of credence, you know, some kind of background, and it matches somewhere else. So that's weird that he saw it, you know. So maybe he'll take some comfort. Well, he already knew by the assistant manager telling him. So maybe, but now that you know, there's other. I wonder if he even looked, you know, check. I know that would be the first thing that we do. Yeah. But like for him, it's like no, I'm just never going back to that one.
Don't want to know.
Yeah, exactly. I'll go another mile down the road to the next McDonald's.
But they do have. They were talking about somewhere in Texas, and then I know I kept bringing up that other one where they robbed that place and they shot all them kids up. They were like,
What?
Yeah, the guy he was on death row in two, and it was Oklahoma and Texas.
Yeah.
And though that shooting happened in Texas, I just can't remember where it was at. But I didn't get any more. Oh, well, Kory got cold there.
Chill.
Is it cold in here?
Hope you don't see no little girls.
You didn't waste no time, did you?
Let's go to here.
He had goosebumps on his arm. Anyway, but like I was going back to, like, that was a terrible killing.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And I couldn't find any background on what happened there with the man, so that's just weird, man. I thought it was awesome, and it's weird because like we go back to like all the other haunted chains that they have, and it had some more here from McDonald's, and then they threw me back into Walmart. For some reason, we got a lot of Walmarts and stuff.
Crazy. Yeah, no, Walmarts and McDonald's. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, there's all kinds of bullshit happening there, man. If you're not choking on one of their hamburgers, you know, some other bullshit's happening at Walmart. So yeah.
Well, I guess it's because there's, you know, if you think about it, there's so many Walmarts and McDonald's in the United States. Yeah. I mean, they're covering up all the. Maybe they're on Indian burial grounds. You never know.
Illuminati.
Yeah.
But yeah, you hear a lot of that, man. And you know what though? I was just about to say that because like the first story, the EF Warren.
Right.
Was it? Or it's FE?
No, you got it right.
EF. Okay. The Air Force. Yeah.
It's one of those.
Well, they were talking about that too, that they had skirmishes with Indians there, the Native Americans. That's weird because, like, maybe it's that too. You have buried bodies there also.
Oh, yeah, I kind of thought it, but I didn't want to see it.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, no.
But it is true though, because, like, okay, look at Gettysburg also. Gettysburg, you know, they got all that, the terrible killings that went on, and there was just like all those people. Was it 50,000 in like 1 or 2 days, something like that? Something weird. Obviously, there's going to be some kind of something there. So that was a good one there, though, Johnny. Thank you for that one.
Yeah, we loved it.
It's a good one.
You know, going on something completely different again. I just thought about this story, man. I don't know what I was thinking. Again, I don't know what's wrong with me today. I guess it's the beer. The beer's going down really nice and smooth. But you know what? At least I'm not slurring like on our last episode. Man, I swear I don't remember the episode at all. I mean, I vaguely remember starting the last episode, and that was it. Oh, hello, good Lord Jesus.
And then what happened?
I was just thinking about do you remember the story Dad told us? He used to work at the base. I guess I was thinking about the base again.
Oh, Kelly,
Kelly Air Force Base. He was a aircraft mechanic, or was he an aircraft mechanic?
Right? Something like that. He's like a helper and assistant.
Yeah,
really,
which is what Kory is. But Kory is a little busy right now.
He's
an actual mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I always remember the story. He always had a toothpick in his mouth, and Dad always wore a cowboy hat.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure you remember that. He's like, always had my cowboy hat, man, and I had to take it off because I had to put his I don't know, some other hat on, or I guess safety hat or something.
Oh yeah.
But he says, man, I always left my hat on top of my my tool chest. Or, you know, they had those real tall tool chests or whatever.
And they did have those, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I had it there. And he goes, I always had my that's Rob shaking the salt, by the way.
That's like a dog.
No,
I'm sorry,
I want to make sure because
my arm.
Be just about
I actually stopped because my arm got tired, man.
That was the most exercise.
It's like get exercise preparing my
2018 New Me. New Year's
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry, man.
No, but Dad said he set his cowboy hat down on his tool chest, and he says I had all my toothpicks. I would line them up in the band. And there was this one guy he said was a total dick. He's like, man, this dude always used to come up. He'd just look at me in my face and kind of like laugh. He'd pull one of the toothpicks out and start picking his teeth and walk away, you know, like kind of like, haha, you know, I'm getting one of your toothpicks. What are you gonna do about it? And Dad, man, hard to believe Dad was being cool about it.
He didn't seem
I know,
like very calm about
my dad
stuff,
did not used to be calm, man. But it's weird because Dad was like, you know what, I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And so, you know, he'd just, you know, he'd take him out, he'd pick his teeth or whatever, and, you know, a guy would see him and then he'd walk over and take one of his toothpicks. He's like, man, I got smart one day. He's like, one day, he goes, I made sure the guy was looking at me. The guy saw me. He goes, I went over, I grabbed a toothpick out, and I started picking my teeth. I'm going to town. He goes, I went back. He goes, I put it back in my hat. He put the toothpick back in his hat. He's like, the dude never. He goes, he never grabbed a toothpick again, man. I was like, dude, this is crazy. And I was like, that was smart, man. I was like,
he's gonna rub all the remaining ones across his balls. Or something.
That's what I thought too.
he should have, man. No.
Yeah, the guy goes running, got him
It could have been worse, especially with Dad. It could have been worse, man. But maybe we should get into the sobering thoughts.
It's time for
I don't know how we're gonna cover this.
We didn't even do research, but I think we're gonna do this is how we're gonna do this one.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit.
Yeah, because it's actually a good topic too. So on this one, let's just I think we should just do more opinion
I'm
on
good with that. Or we were talking about even conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah.
We were talking about that, and we were like, okay, let's try and choose between one, and we came across some really crazy conspiracy.
What about the dinosaurs?
Oh yeah, the dinosaurs helped build the pyramids. Now that one's kind of feasible though, right? You can see that one, like they put the bricks. But how do you tame those bad boys, though, right? It's all Flintstones.
Yeah, don't go there.
Yeah, it's all Flintstones, right? Like the big brontosaurus that he's, where they, you see the Flintstones in the beginning when they show him like his head is pulling up a rock, and then they pull on the what is it, the pterodactyl or pterodactyl? They put it. Yeah, but never do. It's a beer time.
Oh, one of my favorites. Michelle Obama has a penis. I mean, it was fun. Only because the pictures they show in this thing,
they have pictures of her with the bulge.
But then again, it's on cracked.com, which is like Cracked Magazine, I guess, which we know that's pretty funny. But man, the pictures they got, they have pictures of her with like a big bulge. And
that's a man-sized bulge.
Yeah, I mean, come
envious.
on.
Envious, man.
That's what I'm telling you. I'm like, good God, the bulges they put on her. It's like, come on, guys. I mean,
where do they get that shit though, man? But who decides that? I mean, because really, first of all, we're having fun here, and I know that she went through man, they said some terrible things about her, and I don't really get into that
I'm not ragging on her either.
But it would seem funny as hell because we're going
the topics.
through.
It's because who comes up with these topics?
Yeah, we see her, and she's on with a big smile and these white slacks, and got a rowdy snake trousers, man. I'm like, whoa.
That's exactly right.
Man, I wonder. Barack could never concentrate, man. You guys are lucky. I gotta go home to that damn thing. That's nasty, but
that's horrible. Yeah. No, and again, nothing against her, because she's a great lady. She really is a wonderful woman. I mean, she's done a lot of good. I mean, just a picture.
But that picture.
It's like, yikes.
Well, it is impressive. If it is real, yes.
Man.
I was like, yeah, that's Kory, how you feeling? You still cold?
It's really warm now.
Yeah,
sweating a little.
We got into we got into
Obama's penis.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Damn, I wonder if she got a name for it too, right?
I know the anaconda. I mean, come on, guys, that's like you don't have to overdo it with a pig. But
what are some
here.
Goddamn.
Yeah, I mean,
there's Michelle. She's got a big smile, like her big chorizo.
I mean, sometimes you hear about a sock in the pants, but I mean, good God, this is a lot more than a sock, man. What the hell do they put in your pants?
She's got a Pringles can down there, right?
It looks like there's a little guy on her back from here.
The extended can.
That guy's got a smile too.
I can't wait till Ian comes back.
Yeah. Walmart stores being converted into FEMA prison camps.
That one was kind of cool. That one actually.
That was kind of scary because
I didn't hear that one.
Anything in the FEMA camps, this other guy got, because he's all into InfoWars and stuff like that. I don't know if you ever watched them. Those guys, it's like the Republicans against the Democrats, and that's a big deal.
Right.
He was showing me these pictures, and it's weird, man, because they have different sites, and their railroads, they all lead into a place where some railroads at. you see this huge stacks of these plastic cartons, and they're saying there are a whole bunch of them, though, man. They're like a bunch of them, and they said FEMA's stocking up for those are coffins, but they don't know why. There's just so many, and all the sites that they have that same thing, and they're all leading close to a railroad. And it's crazy.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Then they started talking. Here we go about the Freemasons, Illuminatis, and all that.
Yeah.
That one though is weird because on the title it's even scary. Why does FEMA stocking all these coffins? They may not even be coffins. They may not, but they kind of look like
they're perfect size for an adult body.
Yeah.
Damn.
I've seen.
Because they're not gonna throw you on some fucking fancy copper, especially my fat ass, man. I mean, they may need a titanium one, but what I'm saying is because they're not gonna spend that kind of money. If you're dead, they'll just say throw them in there, and boom, let's go. So,
like the cheap paper plates where you have the double up.
Yeah, man, yeah, we all know where that goes, man.
You know what? We did the same thing. We bought those shitty paper plates from Walmart, dude. I swear, dude, they bend and stuff. They're not paper. They're the styrofoam. So styrofoam, you think they're better, but
even the glass plates I have to double up.
But
why do you put so much food? Just go back for a second.
Hey, and even Whataburger, man. Last time we went to them, man, your hands going through the cup and stuff like that. Your finger goes through them. I'm like, what the hell?
Oh, your straw.
They're
your poker, and then your straw goes right through the cup. You're like, yeah.
Well, maybe not be so aggressive.
Yeah, first. We're shredding your Doppelganger.
Yeah, that's what you get for calling in sick, you. It's pretty stupid.
You know what? We're solving ourselves up.
Yeah, because we're having a thing.
I have to read and think.
Where's Ian when we need him, man? One more. We'll do the one more. The Jay-Z.
He's a time traveling vampire.
I don't know what the hell.
Who came up with that shit, right? Just like,
I have never seen him and Dracula at the same place.
Ooh,
that's something to think about. Nosferatu? I haven't seen them either, man.
I've never seen either one of them, period.
I know, that's true too. Oh, sorry.
We have but I mean, the guy is making like millions and millions. And his old lady is making millions.
Beyonce, right?
Yeah.
I don't know
Right,
much
Beyonce?
about that stuff, man. But...
Yeah, so.
Well, she was taking pictures half nude, right, when she was pregnant or something, too? Or...
That was Kim.
Huh?
That was Kim.
No, but she did, too. Beyonce did, too.
Are you serious?
I don't know.
I didn't know
I
that.
don't keep up with... She probably did.
I thought so.
No, you're probably right. I just
Kim
don't keep up with
Kardashian's always butt naked.
Oh, yeah,
man.
I know, yeah.
I mean, you want to impress me? Put some clothes on.
No, right?
But anyway, man, sorry, Ian. God, poor Ian, man. We
like,
just
what the hell are y'all doing to my segment? We got one more story, though. No, we got the Doppelganger.
Let's do the Doppelganger.
Doppelganger. We can't skip that one. That's pretty good.
That is a good one.
Story.
Okay, like that. I'm kind of glad that we got a new story like that. Mm-hmm. But I'm not gonna lie, I came unprepared for that one, man. Yeah. I don't do so much. Honestly, I've never really.
You don't hear a lot. Yeah, you don't hear very much about that.
It's like, you got anything on mummies? No.
I know, right? Yeah, that's true. I mean, man, that'd be cool if we got something on mummies anyway, actually.
But really, seriously, man, I mean, how many mummy stories do we have, man?
That's true.
The museum.
Anyway, let's hear this next story, fellas.
This story comes to us from Zach W. From Waterbury, Connecticut. Zach writes, "Hello, my name is Zach, and I love to listen to your show. You all are crazy. This story happened to me when I was a little kid, about 30 years ago. I think I was about 7 years old. My mom used to love going to garage sales around town. She didn't always buy things, but she loved the idea of getting a bargain. So even though she was mostly window shopping, she would buy things occasionally. Well, there was this one time she found an old mirror for a deal she just couldn't pass up. I think it was like $2 or something like that, and it looked pretty big and old. She took it home and hung it in our living room. Honestly, I didn't like it from the very beginning. Something about it just creeped me out. Every time I passed by it, I felt like someone was looking at me. One night, after about a week, I passed the mirror and I swore I heard someone whisper my name. I thought it was my younger brother, so I turned around, not really thinking anything of it. But then I remembered my brother wasn't home. He had gone with my dad to the corner store to get a 6-pack of beer. For my dad, of course. I looked into the mirror and saw myself in it, but something didn't look right. The light in the room looked darker, and my reflection looked kind of dark too. I started to walk up to the mirror, and as I got closer, I noticed my face looked a little weird. It didn't look like me exactly. It was darker, dirty, and didn't look right. I touched my face and noticed in the reflection, it looked like I was pressing down really hard on my face, but I wasn't. I was scared as hell, but I moved my face a little closer to the mirror. Then something happened that made me piss my pants, literally. The reflection on my face in the mirror smiled. I ran crying to my mom and told her about what happened. She tried to comfort me and took me back to the mirror to show me it was just a normal mirror. Of course, she was there. Nothing happened. Kind of the way it always goes. That same night, I slept with my parents because I was too scared to sleep in my room. My parents and I were laying there when we saw what we thought was my brother walk past the door. So my mom called out to him. My brother didn't answer, but the figure right in front of the door stopped and looked right at me. It was a ghost that looked exactly like me. This time, both of my parents saw it and were scared and screaming. Even my dad. After about 5 seconds, it turned, walked away, and disappeared. My parents both agreed it had to be that mirror. So my dad ran to the living room, yanked it off the wall, and ran down to the dumpster that was down the street and threw it in there. We all had trouble sleeping that night, but we never experienced anything after that again. It was just a one-night deal. I have had other things happen to me later in life, but never like that. Anyhow, that's my story, and I swear I'm not making this shit up, although I am a little bit drunk, LOL. I hope you guys use my story. Thanks for all the great stories, RMP.
That's pretty crazy, man.
Oh, interesting.
Doppelgangers, I mean, we never had that before.
That's a crazy story. I mean, because like I didn't even expect that to be about a mural, but when we were going over the notes, Kory had brought up the one like what he's going to talk about, and it's kind of cool. But I about the murals. I mean, with the doppelganger, I always remember the stories being like, you know, it's something dreadful if you see your own, like almost like death or bad luck. Yeah. If you see your own doppelganger or the person that looks like you. But that was a crazy story, man. I mean, yeah, that would be tripping out.
He wound up seeing him, I guess, a ghost when he was with his parents. So, I mean, I guess he said it looked exactly like him, but I don't know, the whole thing though.
That was just dirty. Yeah, he was like dirty, but like and that he pushed on his face, and it was kind of like bushy, and it smiled back at him.
Yeah, I mean, that would be freaky.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
That's a crazy story, man. I'd really freak out.
Yeah, I think I would be too, man. Yeah,
I would have peed my pants too, man. I'd be one drunk guy myself, man.
That's all shitty though that his dad just left it down the street.
Yeah, I know. For somebody else, like, hey, y'all want this mirror, y'all can have it.
Yeah, you know, the garbage man saw it, like, I was a good mirror. Yeah, mama, man.
Did he throw it in? I wonder if he threw it in or just on the outside, leaning up against it, so somebody else can take it.
When I was reading, I read about how President Lincoln, when he was right after he was elected, he saw in the mirror a double of him. It wasn't just a reflection; he saw two of him in the mirror, and they said he noted that one of the reflections of him was many shades lighter than the other. And that his wife was worried that it could mean that maybe he was only going to serve one term but wouldn't live through his second because, you know, it looked lighter, like it was dead maybe or something. Yeah. But I just thought that was crazy too. And I didn't really. I heard that
about Lincoln.
Yeah, I heard that he had like died not long after that or something. But I don't know how true that was. Only thing I saw was that. Only thing I can verify that he, you know, he was shades lighter.
Did you find that on Cracked.com?
No, I just kidding.
Just kidding.
I didn't.
That's informative about hey, they're the ones who gave us a Michelle Obama's penis. So that's some informative journalism right there.
No kidding,
but you know what though, man, it's crazy because when you brought up Lincoln too, I mean, they were all into that paranormal. Also, Mary Todd was. I mean, I knew she had made that. If there was an afterlife or if there was a way to communicate, I know she had asked Abraham Lincoln to try and get back and, you know, some kind of sign. I can't remember what it was. I mean,
is it after her son died?
I thought it was just Abraham Lincoln when he died. I know they had a son that died also.
I can see that being a reason.
But she was saying when he died that they had some kind of. Well, I know y'all seen that picture though, and it was a complete fraud, but it looks kind of cool because she's sitting there like Mary Todd, and then you see like Lincoln's like his face behind her, and it looks kind of weird. And this is no picture, but like I don't know how they did that, and I'm sure they did because people were saying, well, you know what, you can't fake that shit and this and that and it's hard, you know. I can't remember how they did it. They had the you know, and I didn't get into the legal part. I mean, I'm sorry, the legal part, into the technical part. Excuse me. Anyway, but like it looks kind of cool. But like the same thing when they
actually seen it though.
Yeah, and well, I know they were all into that also. But like, and the reason I brought this up is because I really didn't do my research with doppelgangers. I knew about Mary Todd and them, but.
But there's really not a whole lot of stories, at least that I've seen on doppelgangers. I mean, I know I've seen stuff on TV and stuff, but not really anything.
And the thing is, like, it's always the same thing. Like they run into. That's what my assumption was of it. Like, if you run into your doppelganger, it's supposed to be bad luck. It's supposed to be you might die.
It said if you run into your doppelganger yourself, it's supposed to be
like death, right?
Yeah.
But if like a family member, a relative, or friend runs into it, that it's supposed to be bad luck or an illness or something. So if they run into your doppelganger.
So in other words, it's not good no matter how you
look
at
it.
It
just didn't sound
bad.
good.
It's a great story. And you know what's weird? Like, Connecticut, man, I don't know. A lot of crazy stuff happens in Connecticut. I don't know why, but every time I see shows, at least, and read stories, I mean, all the really weird stuff happens either in, you know what, that's Connecticut, that's where that movie,
the Haunting in Connecticut and all that,
Yeah, Haunting in Connecticut.
Sounds like we need to take a trip.
I know, right, man? Yeah, go do some ghost
Well, I mean, that's the whole country, too. Like, you think about it. I mean, like, that's when the beginning of this country, which it's been here forever. The Native Americans can tell you that, you know, like, it's not new to us. You know, you guys.
It's funny because the last, when we were living up in Boston area for a little bit, people would laugh at us because, you know, it was like, man, we found an antique from the 1950s. And they're like 1950s, like really? That's antique, you know. They're like, I got something here from the 1600s, you know. I mean, something ridiculous. I'm like, oh crap, dude, they got some really serious history up in that area.
And I guess that too, because I mean, there's a lot of history, and then bringing back to like when we were doing the Salem witch hunts and stuff like that. That's all out that way too. So I'm sure it wasn't just in Massachusetts. I'm sure it was everywhere else. Or maybe there were a couple of same people back then, you know. And then the wars and everything else that you had out there. So. It was just all that violence and terrible things that they went through, so I can imagine.
Yeah, just some really weird stuff in that area. Anyway, that was a great story.
Yeah, Zach, that was awesome.
You were talking about antiques. His dad has a James. I don't know. I feel like you said this before.
Oh, the butt cannon. Yeah.
The James Buchanan.
Oh, that's right.
Well, you told me. I don't know if you mentioned it, but like,
We're always drunk. We said it.
I don't remember if you mentioned it or not. That's true.
Yeah, he had. It was a sword, right? A sword from President James Buchanan. So that's crazy, man. I seen it. I seen it myself. I have actually.
Treat it with my eyes.
What your great grandparents or your great? I don't know.
So you're related to?
I'm assuming.
To James Buchanan?
Yeah.
Wow, dude, that's crazy, man.
I don't know how, or I don't even know how he ended up with it. I kind of hope he doesn't give it to me.
What is it? What is
You
those?
see Kory on Pawn Stars.
That's all you're gonna give me, damn it.
Hell no. Fucking the
My mom
Actually using it to spread mayonnaise on his sub, right?
You know, all the worst stuff you can do with it.
My mom's always real weird about it. Like, if she has anything paranormal happen, she's just, whatever, it happens, whatever. It's probably just dead James Buchanan.
Or it's like, she blame it on the sword.
Yes.
I guess I would too, man. I mean, because
attached on the items and stuff like that. I could see that happening too. So yeah, that's.
She doesn't get creeped out. You've been to their house, man. Their creepy basement and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't feel too creeped out, but like when you started talking about that, I was expecting to see your grandmother walk in.
Well, yeah, it's like mom just lays next to me, and you know, I'll see mom every once in a while talking about my grandma passed away. I just get creeped out in the basement.
Actually, it was kind of cool. The basements they weren't, and I like them. We don't have them here in Texas, but
yeah, we don't have them in Texas.
I don't know why that was. I actually looked that up, and they said it one time. I don't know if it was because of the soil or what it was. I just can't remember what it said.
Great story.
It was a great story.
It was. I want to look up more doppelgangers now.
I think that's another thing too. Hopefully, we're gonna get some more good stories next week. Also, and we're not sending it out next week. But, yeah. Oh, next time I'm sure Ian will. He's gonna come back, even if he's on his deathbed. Fuck that. You guys fucked over my. I'm not letting y'all do my segment no more, man.
I think we need an Ian doppelganger.
Yeah.
To fill in for him.
Well, I hope he feels better though, man. I know that shit's going around. So
yeah,
here I go with myself.
Can you hear?
That's how.
Salt. I know.
That's how it sounds late at night with Michelle Obama. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We gotta lay off Michelle Obama.
Michelle.
Oh, not again.
Take it easy. Hey man, it was a great night.
Oh shit.
Man, we'd love to hear your stories, man. We need more. We need more stories, man.
We need a lot more.
If you guys want to write in your stories, man, you can call them in. What's that phone number, Robert?
That number is 210-901-8666. And remember, folks, that's a 3-minute call. So if you cannot get your story done in one call, please call back and let us know that it's the second part or third part, or however many you need to take. We'll put it on the air. We'll make sure we get it done. And we got some great editing, and we'd love to hear some stories, some any kind of stories, man. I'd like to hear some more UFO stories, whatever have you.
Yeah,
If you got a mommy story,
A mommy story. Even another.
Dracula, maybe you ran into Jay-Z in the future or something.
somebody's gonna be like, I have seen them at the same spot.
Man, definitely. Whatever you got, man. Yeah, call in your story. If not, email us, info@rigormortisparanormal.com. Or just visit us online, rigormortisparanormal.com, and you can actually submit your story there. Whatever. I mean, just please get your story in. We'd love to hear from you guys.
And some of our backup to get the research that we did, that we looked online, was Shadowlands crack.
Hauntedplaces.org.
Hauntedplaces.org. That's another one. They're real like footnotes of places. Shadowland does the same thing too. And what I always recommend, like all of us here, when you do get a story, don't just take it for word of mouth. Look up all. You say different
Research,
different websites and different articles, and get the most to that story. That way, you see if you get more credence. Most times you find like us, we can't find shit on them. But anyway, those are the websites we got them. But anyway, I'm so sorry.
That's good. That's all right, man. You guys just whatever you do, try to get your stories to us. We'd love to hear from you guys. Until next time, peace.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Get off my wife, you sons of bitches!